Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 180 podcast. Today's message is brought to you by myself, Cole Thompson. Hope you enjoy and that you are blessed through the Word of God today. Okay. We are getting ready. We just finished up our previous series. We're getting ready to kick into a new series. And I'm going to try. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how long this goes. We may just do this week. Who really knows, actually, But I'm going to try my best. I think it would be fun to teach through the book of Judges. So, the book of Judges. Anyone ever read the book of Judges? Yeah. Adrian's like, I'm not coming back. Yeah. What was the word you used to describe the book of Judges, William? Visual. It's a very visual book, guys. It is anyone here ever read the book of Judges before? Okay. It's a great book, guys.
I'm pretty sure that's the one I texted Sherry about.
If you've ever read the book of Judges and you still think that the Bible is PG-13, then you have read a different book of Judges than I have, okay?
The book that you want to introduce, like if you have 14-year-old boys that
don't
really want to read the Bible, you go, read the book of Judges.
They will be like, the Bible is the coolest book ever. Because they'll be like, Mom would not let me read that in any other book. And it's true. There's just some highlights you have to look forward to. The premise of the book of Judges. I'll go ahead and give you the premise of the book of Judges, okay? The Israelites, this goes into what I'm going to talk about tonight, okay? They have, in the book of Exodus, right? We've gone through that recently. They come out of the land of Egypt. They try to go into the promised land. They don't make it into the promised land because they were afraid. And then the book of Joshua, we see the Israelites actually go into the promised land. And when Joshua took over, okay, Moses was really awesome, but Joshua just kicked butt. Joshua said, we're going into the promised land and we're going to do what we need to do. So the book of Joshua is all about the Israelites going in and taking the promised land. And then the book of Judges is after Joshua has died. It's technically the first couple chapters, he's kind of still alive, but it's, he's on the way out. Okay. The Israelite people fall away from God. And as a result, they're taken over by these other countries. And then Judges, where that comes in, is God sent different judges to save them from the people that were enslaving them. Okay, so that's the whole premise of the book of Judges. Some things that you have to look forward to, like today I was reading in the book of Judges, and this dude takes out a knife or a sword, it's like a dagger, shoves it into this guy's gut, and his bowels discharged. That is in the Bible. His bowels discharged, he keeled over, and the fat sealed around the wound. That's pretty much word for word from the Bible, guys. Okay? So, some things you have to look forward to in the coming months, that plus much, much more. You know what? Who knows? We might just go through 1st and 2nd Kings after that, because it's just as good. Okay? But that's what we're going to be talking about. But tonight, it didn't feel right to... And it's going to be in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 2 is our first passage of the evening. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 2. Guys, Ashlyn just made that slide, just so you know. She's making all these on the fly as she goes, because
I was sitting here thinking about it. I was like,
that's pretty insane. Okay. Huh? That's right. What can I say? Okay. So, again, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 2. Here we go. And when the Lord your God has delivered them over to you and you have defeated them, then you must destroy them totally, make no treaty with them, and show them no mercy. Okay, so this is instructions on what the Israelite people are to do whenever they go into the promised land and start conquering all these other people. Because fun fact, the land that God had promised the Israelites was already occupied by someone else. And this is basically God saying, go into the land, kill everyone, wipe them off the face of the earth so that there are none of them left. That is a message from the Lord. The Lord is love, guys.
Would you do that?
Okay. Huh?
So would you wipe someone off the face of the earth?
I mean,
If the Lord told you
if the cloud told me to, absolutely, I would. It's what they were doing. Okay. Here's why this is. Okay, guys. This is actually something that gets brought up a lot. Like why it's always talking about street preachers, right? This is something that street preachers get asked all the time. Why did God order all of these people to be killed? Because I mean, that's literally the Lord saying, go wipe out nations of people. Okay, and the reason that he did that is because these people were living in the land that the Israelites had been promised, and they were pagan worshipers who did detestable things in the sight of God. Okay. Now, we also know from other places in Scripture that God did show people mercy and gave opportunities for people to have mercy. But these people, God was like, you know what? Had their chance. They gone. Okay? So it's Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 2. Now, our second passage of the evening is Joshua chapter 9, starting in verse 1. This is where our story really begins. That was kind of like the backstory. If I were to have started here, it would have been like starting at A New Hope without showing you Phantom Menace. Guys.
What?
Had to make a Star Wars reference because it's May the 4th.
May the Lord
Okay.
be with you.
Checked it off. Checked it off the list, guys. Okay. So, y'all good? Following? We there?
What chapter, Paul?
Joshua chapter 9. Joshua 9, starting in verse 1. Is it going to be on the screen? It just wasn't highlighted. That's my bad. No, you're good. I literally told you like 40 minutes ago. So,
You did an amazing job so far. Don't let anyone tell you different.
guys, can I turn on the light? Because I don't know if I can read this. All right, turn the light on. Sorry, guys.
Gabe didn't let him.
Woo!
God said, let there be light.
And voila, there was light.
Jeff.
So it was. Okay. So, y'all ready? Ready? Good? Good to go? Set up? Good to go? Ready?
Are you ready?
All right. Chapter 9, starting in verse 1. Now, when all the kings west of Jordan heard about these things, the kings in the hill country, in the western foothills, and along the entire coast of the Mediterranean Sea as far as Lebanon, the kings of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, they came together to wage war against Joshua and Israel. What did they just hear? They just heard about Joshua coming into the land and just stomping everybody's butt, okay? It was like Joshua was the Kansas City Chiefs and everyone else was the NFL. Okay, verse 3. However, when the people of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, guys, Joshua was beating Ai way before it was cool. Woo! I'm tired. Okay. Adrian's like, I'm really not coming back. All right. They resorted to a ruse. I love that they use that word. Okay. They resorted to a ruse. They went as a delegation, right? Yeah. They went as a delegation whose donkeys were loaded with worn out sacks and old wineskins, cracked and mended. They put worn and patched sandals on their feet and wore old clothes. All the bread of their food supply was dry and moldy. Then they went in to Joshua in the camp of Gilgal and said to him and the Israelites, "We have come from a distant country. Make a treaty with us." The Israelites said to the Hivites, "But perhaps you live near us. So how can we make a treaty with you?" Pause. Okay, we're at verse 8. So again, these people have seen that Joshua is coming into the land. They're like, this guy's not messing around. He's kind of like destroying everyone who gets in their way. Okay, rather than face them, let's try and trick them. So they went all out, okay? Like if this was a homeless person they were trying to impersonate, they went all the way down to the smell, guys. Like they went as far into detail as they possibly could. Okay, they go up to Joshua and they're like, hey, we're from a far land. Make a treaty with us. What is wrong with that to start?
Why would you make a tree from far away?
What was Joshua told to do whenever he went into the land?
Kill everyone. Show them no mercy.
Make no treaties, right? Okay, verse 8. We are your servants, they said to Joshua. Boop. But Joshua asked, who are you and where do you come from? They answered, your servants have come from a very distant country because of the fame of the Lord your God. For we have heard reports of him, all that he did in Egypt and all that he did to the two kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, Sihon, king of Heshbon, and Og, king of Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth. We're going to read a lot of these names over the next couple of weeks, guys. And our elders and all those living in the country said to us, take provisions for your journey, go and meet them and say to them, we are your servants, make a treaty with us. This bread of ours was worn when we packed it at home on the day we left to come to you, but now see how dry and moldy it is. And these wineskins that we filled were new, but see how cracked they are, and our clothes and sandals are worn out by the very long journey. Pause right there before we read 14. Again, they are just really driving home the point. Like, look at us. We smell nasty. Like, we've been on the road for a long time. Our wineskins are torn up. Our food is moldy. Like, clearly we came from a long ways away. Verse 14, the Israelites sampled their provisions. Pause. That's disgusting. Like, the provisions were icky, and they were like, gotta try it to make sure. I'd have been like, I can see the green. Okay, their provisions, but did not inquire of the Lord. Then Joshua made a treaty of peace with them to let them live, and the leaders of the assembly ratified it by oath. So a couple of things that we're going to pull from that I want you guys to know. Again, we're talking about, over the next several weeks, the book of Judges and how the book of Judges came to be. And really, the book of Judges started in this moment. And verse 14 lays out a really key point, and it says that they did not consult the Lord, and then they went and ratified oaths. And what I want to pull tonight is a couple of strategies that the enemy uses on us, okay, that we need to be aware of. Here's the first one, okay? The enemy knows that he can't win. The enemy knows that he can't win. People in this story who came to Joshua and they had all these things dressed up, all the different costume, they went all out. Those people knew that if they were to fight Joshua and their God, that they would in fact lose. Okay. Joshua had been told that he was supposed to annihilate everyone in the land. He disobeyed that and listened to what these people had to say. The enemy knows that he cannot win. Okay, the people were terrified. And here's what we want from that, okay? Even if you don't know what God is capable of, the enemy does. Even if you don't know what God is capable of, the enemy does. A lot of times we think that we cannot fight whatever it is head on. However, with God on our side, we can. And even if we don't know that, even if we don't feel like that, okay, the enemy of our soul has been there and done that. Think about that. We're all in a fight right now, okay, against the enemy. And you've been in that fight for anywhere from 14 to 18 years? 35 years? 60 plus years? Right? Depending on who you are. But the enemy has been fighting against the Lord since the time that this was written. Okay? He has way more experience and knows way more what God is capable of. And as a result, he is way more terrified of it than we are. So that brings me to my second point. He will try to trick you instead of face you straight on. If you know you can't beat someone straight on, you got to try and be smarter than them, right? It's pretty basic knowledge. If I'm getting ready to arm wrestle someone, if me and Austin are getting ready to arm wrestle, you best know your boy's going to cheat in every way possible and try and get around it. Because I know if I face him straight on, my arm is about to go through the table. Okay? Austin goes to the gym more in a month than I've been the last 3.5 years. Okay? Why do I say that? Because I know that Austin is better at it than I am. I know that he's stronger than I am. And as a result, I'm going to try and get around it and be smart. I remember growing up, the Lord has a really sick sense of humor. I went to youth group all the time growing up as much as I could. I was in church as much as I could. I was at camp as much as I should or could. And my favorite part was, it was a toss-up. I really liked worship, depending on what it was. But actually, whenever I was in youth group, we didn't really do worship. So that wasn't an option. My favorite part was always the games. But here's the problem. For most of my life, I was a lot smaller than everyone else who was playing the games. I know it's hard to believe, but I was a lot smaller than everyone else who was playing the games because I went to teen camps from the time I was 10. So I was a lot smaller than everyone else. So what I would do is I would find these really athletic games or these different things, and I would sit there at the back of the line, and I was the kid that every youth group game leader hates because I would sit there and I would think, how can I get around the rules? And I would sit there long enough and I would think about it hard enough, and oftentimes I came up with something that was not cheating. However, it allowed little 12-year-old chubby Cole to do pretty good against some pretty athletic high schoolers. Why? Because I knew that if I played the game how it was meant to be played, I was going to lose. The enemy knows that if he faces us head on, he's going to lose, so he's often going to be tricky about it. A couple of things that came to mind as I was writing this of ways that he's tricky. He'll cheat. He will make you think that it's not that important. Okay? Joshua thought, we're about to get some slaves from this. This is a good deal. This isn't that big. We don't even need to consult the Lord. This is a pretty simple business deal, guys. Let's just do it. It's not that important. And because they did not consult the Lord, they had a root of something that was going to destroy them later. Spoiler alert for the book of Judges. The reason that the book of Judges happened is because the Israelites left these people in their land, and they slowly took root in their culture, and they began to worship other gods. The Israelites began to worship other gods because they did not root out and get rid of everything. What they thought was small in the moment was actually really, really important to God. Okay, he'll make you think it's not that important. He will make you think that it's not really that bad. It's not really that bad. Is it really that bad? What does this look like in today's society? It's not. I'm trying to think of an original thing rather than what you would always default to. Here we go. Huh? I'm not going to do that. It's too targeted. Okay. He would do this. This is what he would do. He'd think, you know what? I know you're already full, but it's just one more donut. And you know what? I know you've already eaten 2 donuts, but it's just one more donut. Right? It's not that big of a deal. It's not that important. Okay? Or maybe it would be you're scrolling on Instagram and it's, you know what? You can look at that. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. You're not looking at pornography. It's not like you're on some nasty site. You're on Instagram. It's not that big of a deal. Right? It's not that important. Okay? Or maybe it's, music. It's like, you know what? It's fine. It's not that important. You can listen to that. You're fine. It's not that important. And then the last one. And this is by far the one that I get smacked with the most. He will distract you. People in our story, again, they were like, look at our clothes. Look at our wineskins. Look at our food. Look at us. Look at look at this, look at that, look at this. And they never consulted with the Lord. He will distract you. What does that look like for us? You don't need to read your Bible. Just open up your phone, get on Facebook. It's basically the same thing. Instagram's basically just get on Sadie Robertson's page. It's the same thing. Like it's basically just the Bible. Like he'll distract you from what's actually important. And my last thing. We can take no prisoners. We have to cleanse ourselves of everything the enemy has intended for us. Why? Why is that so important? Because, again, the whole book of Judges everything we're going to go through, and I'm not going to go through chapter by chapter, but the book of Judges and all of the heartbreak, and I read 2 chapters of it today, guys, and I went through about 120 years of Israel's history. And I don't remember how many chapters there are, but there's way more than that. Okay, all of those years of hardship, Judges, and all of these different things were a result of them not cleansing the land of what needed to be cleansed. And a lot of times you see people who are, like in their 30s, okay, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, and they never took whenever they were your age and got rid of some things they needed to, and as a result, it's built up. People don't start off as just really awful, angry, bitter people. They slowly become that over time because they refuse to get rid of things. And the flip side of that is people don't just look like Jesus. It's something that happens slowly over time. I hope that the Lord spoke to you through the teaching of His Word today. If so, leave us a comment and let us know. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of our content in the future. Have a blessed day.